Hey, thanks for coming to the workshop that I put on. My name is Jacob Moore. I'm going to be walking you through a recording of the presentation I did this Wednesday. Some of you requested kind of a video recording, and so this is fulfilling that. We're just going to launch straight in. I apologize if you weren't at the actual event. We're not going to do any Q&A or anything like that. That's not available. We are looking at tentatively a March 15th session for our second workshop, which will be kind of following the middle of the funnel. This is really engaging in the top of the sales funnel. And so if you're interested in that, be looking for that email in the coming days. So anyway, yeah, let's just get into it. My goal here is to, like I said, this is the first part of a three kind of workshop series that's trying to walk you through a traditional kind of sales funnel where you got your top, you got your middle, and you got the bottom of the funnel. So today is really talking about that top of the funnel. And what I mean by that is, where do you go to find new audiences, new groups of potential customers? How do you get them to your site in a way that's meaningful and engaging and helps you actually convert them as a business, whether you sell a product or service, whether you're business to business or you're business to consumer or whatever. These principles that I'm about to teach you are all very tried industry practices. So quick background on me if you weren't at the shop. I started off kind of cutting my teeth with some companies like Acumen Brands and Field Agent. I did full-time jobs there. So kind of got exposed to at Acumen the kind of PPC campaigns, pay-per-click campaigns. So really getting into Google AdWords, Bing ads, Gemini platform on Yahoo, running Facebook ads, remarketing, all those kind of maybe buzzwords that you've heard just around drawing traffic to your site. And so I got into that there, and then I moved to Field Agent where I started learning how to, it's a little bit longer, obviously, business to business. They're a longer sales cycle. And so they were more focused on content marketing, providing value, providing lead nurture campaigns via email that kind of kept a contact engaged and constantly being refreshed with Field Agent content until they were, our sales team was able to finally close them as a project and a customer. And then after that, I decided to kind of launch out on my own. I was seeing some opportunity. And since then, I've worked with some really cool brands. A couple examples here are Blue Sun Vacations, a travel agency that specializes in all-inclusive resort stays in the Mexico and Caribbean, and Explainify, who does explainer videos. They take branding, and they take complex products or complex information, and they really dilute it down into a very clear, amazing explainer video that helps tell your story. And so I've got a lot of experience. I've worked with other companies, but these are some of the ones that have kind of lent most of my learning so far. And then down there at the bottom, I just threw up a couple of certifications just to show you that what I'm about to teach you is, in many ways, is where the industry is going and is the best practices. This isn't kind of just my own gut feelings on things. This is things that I've learned, by paying for classes and training myself and experience gained at workplaces. So I hope that you find it valuable, and we'll certainly try to provide value here. Before we get started, one thing I want to say, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I just want to say everything I'm about to talk about will make very little sense if you have not researched your customers. So this is an example of a customer avatar. It should be linked in the email that I sent out with this video. So if you're interested in having that as a resource to start filling out, I really encourage you to start thinking about who's your 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of stereotypical customers, and how can you start identifying the common threads between different types of people who may shop at your retail store, who may purchase your service, or whatever it may be. Start identifying those common threads and tying them together. And as you do that, that's going to be how you're going to find success with the things I'm about to talk about next. So today, we've really got 3 separate topics that I really want to cover for you. And I don't want to just tell you, this isn't just going to be bullet points. It's going to also be, I'm going to be hopping back and forth in and out of some of the tools I actually use. So that way you hopefully get a good grasp of what it means to actually do these things, and you actually have an idea of where to go and what to actually do. I want you to feel empowered to take this back to your business and actually start trying these things. So the 3 things we're going to cover today is how to do keyword research. And what's entailed in that is basically, how do you find out where the pockets of your audience are? How do you find out if somebody's searching for something on Google, 3,000 times a month, and is really interested and engaged with that search, and it's relevant to you? And how do you find those opportunities to bring in people looking for your product without maybe knowing who you are, and get them to your website so you can start engaging them and hopefully close them as a sale? I'm also going to be talking about the 3 different places you should try to land your traffic, where top of the funnel visitors are going to go, and what you should be doing at those stages. And then at the end, I'm going to talk on the key metrics for success. So with that, let's launch into keyword research. Really quickly, I just want to delineate kind of the difference between top of the funnel keywords and middle and bottom of the funnel keywords, because a lot of people don't really understand that there's a difference here, and so I want to speak to that. What top of the funnel keywords are not. I want to start there because I think that that's where most people confuse that. This is not people searching for branded terms. It's not people aware of their solutions, and it's not people looking to optimize a product or service already. And the reason I say that this is not top of the funnel is because all 3 of these things are indicative of people. We've already missed a lot of steps on their buyer's journey, and they are already very close to purchasing or doing something. They've already done most research, and you've already missed out. So for example, I work for Explainify, and they have a lot of people who search for Explainify. When people search on a branded term, they're already familiar with you. They've already encountered your brand at some level, and they're already on a collision course with that. And there's not a lot to be done there, except for just encourage them once they're on your site to kind of buy. People aware to their problem solution. So if somebody says, need an explainer video for my company, we've already missed kind of the root cause, and I'll talk about this in just a second, but what they really probably started searching is, why aren't my sales growing? Why aren't people understanding my brand? Things like that. That would be more top of the funnel. But if they're saying, I need an explainer video for my brand, well, they've already identified, we've already missed so many steps because they've already identified the solution to their problem, and now they're just hunting. And you'll see that I have the code name hunters. And that's because people in this stage, they're already hunting for what they already know they need. And honestly, once people are out there hunting and they're very intentional about how they're searching, your job is mostly done, except for that you just want to be as encouraging and as facilitating in helping them to convert on your site versus your competitors as you can be. So once people know they're hungry, they're going to go get food. It's not a question of making them think, oh, am I hungry? It's a question of, how do I get them to come to, Taco Bell or McDonald's or Wendy's? How do we compete in a crowded market once they already know they're hungry? So that's a totally different beast than what the people I'm going to talk about are what I like to call philosophers. And I actually get this from a Monty Python sketch. If any of you are familiar with it, it's this group of Greek philosophers and German philosophers, and they run out onto the soccer pitch, and they're looking at each other. The ref blows the whistle. They look like they're all set to play. And then they just start walking around. They're just like, they're asking all these questions. They're like, is there even a soccer ball? What does it mean to play soccer? And what, if I win the game, like, I don't know, like, what is winning? And so those are people, like, there's a game and it's right in front of them, and they don't even know how to play because they're questioning the existence of the game. They're questioning, if I start actually scoring, like, what does it mean to score and everything like that. These are the people that are at the top of the funnel. They know that there's a soccer ball out there. They know that there's a soccer pitch out there, but they just don't get it. Like, they don't get what they should be doing. They don't know how to interact properly with that environment. And those are the people that you have a great opportunity. That's where the majority of people lie. And so that's where it's your greatest opportunity to bring in new audiences. So these are the people who are only aware of a problem. So like I said earlier, if somebody's saying, I need an explainer video for my brand, they're not just aware of the problem, but they're aware of the solution. If they say, why aren't my sales growing this year? Well, now we know that there's a real problem there, and maybe it's their sales aren't growing because they can't explain their product, clearly, and they need an explainer video for that. So let's get some messaging out around how an explainer video, increases sales. And so that's, one aspect. There's also the people who are doing research on the topic. So these are the people who understand, like, oh, there's a soccer ball. How does a soccer ball move? And these are the people who, when you look in Google, they're asking questions. They're really positing ideas or queries, and your job is to provide solutions to that. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But then the other type of person is people who are unaware of inefficiency in their life. These are the people who don't actually even know that there's a soccer pitch out there. Like, they don't know that they should be playing. They're totally confused. They're going through their life. They're very happy. And your job is to interrupt them and make them aware that there is that inefficiency and that they should be desiring something a little bit better for their lives. So anyway, that's kind of the difference between top of the funnel keywords and middle and bottom of the funnel keywords. And I really think that that's a crucial distinction that people need to start thinking about, because people, get really excited when they see people searching their branded terms, and they're like, oh, how do we convert them? And that's great. You want to convert people who search your branded terms. But if you're only seeing people searching for your brand, you're not getting the majority of traffic who needs your product or service. And so that's why we kind of talk about that. So I want to talk about, how do we find these top of the funnel keywords? How do we find people who are unaware that we exist and meet us? And so there's kind of a couple tools provided by Google that I really want to talk about. And the first one is the Google Keyword Planner. And this is a thing you have access to. If you create a Google AdWords account, you get access to this tool. You don't even have to actually run an active campaign. You just have to have the account, and you get free access to all of Google's search volume. And that's incredibly powerful, because they will tell you, like, hey, somebody's searching this thing 1 to 10,000 times per month. And I'm going to show you this in just a second. But the other beautiful thing about Keyword Planner is that it's actually really customizable. So you can look for industry-specific keywords. You can put your own domain, your own homepage in there, and Google will start pulling up results that are very specific to you, that they are saying these people have engaged with sites or industries similar to you, and they're very likely to also be interested in what you have to offer. And the other nice thing is if you decide you want to start driving those people to your website, it's very easy to take those keywords and add them into a Google ad group, and then launch that ad campaign to successfully start driving that traffic to your website. So it's a very seamless process, and it's a really great way to search. There's also Google Trends. And this is also beneficial because when you look up a keyword, sometimes it's nice to have context over where the keyword is going and where it's been. Because you might find, for example, a keyword that has 5,000 searches a month, but if you go into Google Trends, you actually can start seeing, oh, well, this is going down. It used to be 8,000, 9,000 per month. And clearly, the language is changing in the marketplace, and I need to figure out what is coming up next. So what's the next trend, so I can hop on winning kind of waves. So my business is not kind of on a keyword that's on the downward slope. And it's just a great comparison tool. You might find half a dozen keywords that you're really interested in trying, but you don't have the budget to test all of them. So it's kind of a question of, okay, which one is really the most popular? Which one is kind of on the upward slope? Like, where can I win? Where can I establish myself most readily? And so I'm about to hop into there. I want to really quickly just throw a couple limitations of Google tools out there. First of all, they are only representative of the Google search results. So they only pull in their search engine results. And the reason that's a problem is that's not always representative of your target market. For example, maybe you sell senior citizen healthcare, right? Well, that actually would probably be better researched on something like Bing, because the older demographic, tends to like their default Internet Explorer, and they're not searching as much on Google. So you might go look up a bunch of keywords and you're really not getting the right target market. So it's just worth keeping in mind, who's my target market, and making sure that Google is actually being representative of them in the best way possible. And then the other thing about the keyword planner especially is that it actually misses like the actual syntax that people use in their sentences as they're actually talking. So Google will pull in these amazing search results, but sometimes it doesn't actually understand the relevant keywords that you should be looking for. Sometimes it has an odd way of missing things. And I'll address this later, but I just wanted to throw that out there. So let's go into the keyword planner, and let's go into Google Trends, and let's show you what we're looking at here. So this is the Google Keyword Planner. You can see, so I have a free account here. I need to refresh my page, apologize for that. So we'll come in here, we'll load up my free Google AdWords account. And then once it's there, we're gonna have access to a tab that says Tools. And that's right up here at the top. It's Tools. And down here we have the Keyword Planner. So that's where you would click on. I'm already in it, so I'm not gonna click it, but that's how you would get to it. And then from there, you can start finding new keywords and get search volume data. So say I want to search for, let's just say in honor of Valentine's Day. I want to look for Valentine's Day cards. I could put in a landing page or my product category or anything like that. I'm not going to do that today, but that's where you can put in your own homepage and get tailored results. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to click Get Ideas. And so now it's going to pull up all of these search results. And it's going to tell me Valentine's Day cards get 10,000 to 100,000 monthly searches. The competition is actually low on it, and the suggested bid is 107. So say I'm Hallmark, and I want to run an ad campaign on Valentine's Day cards. I know that there's husbands out there who probably forgot about Valentine's Day, and they're trying to, maybe get a last minute card or something like that with a few days left. Like maybe I'm running a campaign around that. Well, this is a great way to know. There's 10,000, 100,000 searches per month, and the competition's really low. I can get each person who clicks on my ad would be $1.07. So that's actually not a bad idea, depending on how well you can convert them on your site. And then down here, it also gives you a bunch of other keywords kind of associated with that first keyword. And you can start getting an idea of, okay, funny Valentine's Day cards. Well, that's a little bit more competitive, but there's about the same amount of searches. So you can start getting an idea of where the marketplace is and how much opportunity there is with relevant keywords. So that's just a really quick way to do that research. And then we're going to go over here to Google Trends. So for this, I actually did the comparison of that Explainify, the explainer video company that I work for. So in here, I typed out 3 different keywords. I did explainer videos, I did an animated explainer video, and explainer video production companies. And I wanted to know which of these 3 keywords is the best. And so I came down here and I set it for 5 years to get some idea of where things are going. And right now we're seeing clearly explainer videos is the most relevant search term. Animated explainer video is pretty good. Explainer video production company, there's not a lot of value there. And what I'm also seeing is there's a lot of peaks and valleys, so you can start seeing trends and even when people are buying. So for example, down here in explainer video production company, this is December, and over here we've got March, and over here we got November. So we kind of have a little interesting all over the place, but we're seeing some peaks consistently around the end of the year. So I see about 50% to 60% of these peaks are all in December or November. Maybe that means that people have a lot of extra budget at the end of the year, and they're trying to figure out a way to spend that. And so if that's the case, maybe I should run more comprehensive ad campaigns towards the end of the year when people have budget to spend on these things. And so that's a really easy way to use those 2 tools. And so then coming back into the presentation, I want to talk a little bit about how do we identify what our competitors are doing? How do we leverage the knowledge that our competitors already have to speed up our own process of finding our customers. And so the two things we're going to do here is we're going to look at backlink analysis. So we're going to look at, to give you some context, a backlink is essentially anytime another domain links to your website. So if Google.com has a link on it that goes to Apple.com, Apple.com gets credit for that link, and Google actually uses that as a trust indicator. So the more links that Apple.com has, say if they have 70 backlinks, compared to another company that has 5 backlinks, well, Google's going to know that. Well, and really all search engines, not just Google, but they're going to know that, and they're going to start ranking that result, that domain or that page higher, because they're seeing other domains link to it as kind of a trustworthy source. And so we want to know where our competitors are getting these backlinks from and start figuring out how can we get some similar backlinks so that we can kind of catch up in the market. The other thing we're going to do is we want to look at how, what are we doing compared to our competitors in terms of ranking for organic keywords? What terms, what searches are our competitors getting that we're not getting, and what are we getting that they're not getting? So that way we can establish more dominance where we're winning, but also start catching up where we're behind. And so there's 2 different tools that I've used for this. One is SEMrush. And so, going back to the explainer video company that I've used, here's an example of like domain by domain, being able to start getting an idea of what we're ranking for. So here's another competitor that they have. It's demoduck.com versus explainify.com. And sorry, really quickly, I want to say this is actually the one thing I'm talking about today that you have to pay for. This is not free. If you want to do good competitor research, you're probably going to have to pay for it. If you want to, you could probably do free trials on these. And if you have a couple weeks to really dedicate to this, you could do a free trial, get the research you need, and then cut it off before you have to pay. So if you want to be a little sneaky about it, that's kind of one way you can get around it. But long term, if you want to do this, you're going to have to pay for it. So anyway, this lists our domain right here and the competitor's domain right there. It starts telling us what are we ranking for that has a lot of traffic around it. So Wistia, 18,100 searches a month. We're 6th, they're 59. That's great. We're 6 and they're 5 on explainer video, so extremely competitive there. I mean, very, very much a hard keyword to rank for. So we're doing pretty well so far, but let's look at, for example, animated video. Look at that. Like Demoduck is 8th in Google and we're 72nd. To me, that is just like an opportunity that just screams that, we need to look at that and wonder, is that a good search term? Why are they ranking for it? And why aren't we ranking for it if it is good search results? And so same thing with animated video. So we can start figuring out ways to start pushing ourselves up in that sphere if we decide that that's what we want. So that's how you use SEMrush. The other one I use is Ahrefs. This is where I look for my backlinks. So over here I have switchvideo.com. They're another competitor with Explainify. And what I want to show you here is we can start seeing some of the most authoritative backlinks that Switch Video had. And so the 2 things we can learn here is 1, where could we actually get the same backlinks from? And 2, maybe, so for example, this one is actually a blog post. So Switch Video went to this site and offered to write a blog post for this company. And that to me tells me, well, maybe there's an audience there that we should be considering. And if there is, how do we get on there? Not only so we get a backlink, but so that the people who would maybe engage with our brand and buy from us would also see it on another domain. And so this is where you start identifying, okay, so it's QuickSprout, people are on Unbounce, Mashable. So that's 3 domains. Maybe my audience is there. How do I start kind of delving into that and figuring out which of those is true? And then if they are true, how do I start taking those people from those domains and start moving them over towards mine if they're an interested kind of, group of people? So that's the second phase of keyword research. the third phase of keyword research is using, so right now I have Reddit up there, but I want to be clear. This is just user forums. So we talked about Google doesn't actually do a very good job with syntax of people's sentences and how they actually talk. And we want to be able to make sure we're learning how people actually talk about things and discuss things, and also find maybe those unique keywords that those things like Google Keyword Planner won't actually find. And so we're going to, I'm going to show you how to use Reddit, but you could use Quora, or you could even get on LinkedIn groups, or you could get into Facebook groups, or you could get into, it could even be ESPN threads. I mean, wherever your audience is and they're discussing something, that's where you want to be. You want to start actually observing, how do they talk about these things? What's the emotions? And so it's actually, as I have down at the bottom, it's not only about learning the syntax, but it's also about kind of focus grouping. You can actually become a regular poster on these places. You can start shaping the conversations you want to have with these people. You can learn how people respond to certain questions, to emotions, anything you kind of throw at them, and you can start getting a sense of like, oh, I tried to explain a company this way, or I tried to kind of throw out this idea, and people were really negative about it, and this is why. So now you can start identifying, well, maybe I need to, change my site copy from this to something that people are resonating more with. And it's even a way to kind of vet new product names or new product ideas or anything like that. You can just kind of throw out these theoretical questions and get a lot of user feedback really quickly. And so we're going to go into Reddit and we're going to talk about what this looks like. So in honor of Valentine's Day, once more, I went into Reddit and I found this mega thread, Valentine's Day. It has 2,256 comments. I haven't even refreshed this. So, I mean, this is like a day old at this point. And so it probably has like 3,000 comments at this point. That's incredible, guys. I mean, absolutely incredible that it has 3,000 comments. And this is people who are interested in Valentine's Day. They've self-segmented themselves. They're telling you, I love Valentine's Day, or at least I'm interested in it. And you can start just observing how they post and how they talk about it. Now, 3,000 comments is a lot, but if you want to start learning how your users talk, like, this is an amazing resource. So find things like that. And so to give you some examples of things I pulled out, we're not going to go through all of those comments, but I found some things that people were talking about, like homemade Valentine's Day card. That was something that came up. And so I looked at this, and there's 1 to 10,000 searches on it. The competition is low. It's actually a decently high bid, so that's kind of interesting. But if you scroll down a little bit further, I actually found handmade Valentine's Day cards. 1 to 10,000 searches, low, suggested bid of 33 cents. If I'm Hallmark, that is amazing. So I know a guy, maybe I'm trying to, add value to lifelong customers, and or I'm trying to get a guy who will maybe at some point convert with me later on. Now I'm going in, I'm like teaching him how to do a last minute homemade card, and I'm not spending hardly any money on these people. I mean, they're all mine. And that's because I found a way people talk about Valentine's Day cards that Google didn't know. So say we come back here to this keyword planner. If we look up handmade Valentine's Day cards, right? I just searched for it up here. It's not pulling up anything. And I mean, I've got like up to, the first, let's even expand it up to 100 searches. And then let's still look for it. Nothing. Like when I just did Valentine's Day cards, Google didn't pull this up in their top 100 searches for me. But I went to Reddit, I found somebody saying homemade Valentine's Day cards, and then I found handmade Valentine's Day cards, and that's a really low CPC. Valentine's Day cards to make, I mean, again, cheap bidding, it's a medium, but it's still something that I feel like I can maybe compete on. So all that to say, that's a really great find. Another thing I found was somebody said favorite conversation heart flavors. Like, that's not something Google's ever going to pull up for you. And yeah, like, let's just note real quick, there's no monthly searches around here. But you go down a little bit further and you find conversation heart sayings. 1 to 10,000 people are searching this, It's low competition, suggested bid of 18 cents. Valentine candy hearts, 1 to 10,000. High competition. There might be a lot of content there, but there's also, it's not very competitive for a paid ad, 43 cents to click. That's awesome. Like, I'm finding like a wealth of keywords that I would not have found and Google would not have known to find for me, because it's not really doing a good job of thinking about how people are actually talking. Like when they're just discussing something, So the way people search on Google is fundamentally different from how they talk and how they write. And that's the distinction you have to understand. And this is how we're kind of fighting against that by doing this research on Reddit. And so the last one I found was somebody said, "Why do you hate Valentine's Day?" That was a question posed on this thread, and it got a lot of responses. I mean, like a couple hundred. And so obviously there's a lot of sentiment around hating Valentine's Day, which is, kind of sad, but you can also kind of understand it. It's an interesting holiday sometimes, but no average monthly searches here. But let's look at the relevant results. I hate Valentine's Day. 10 to 100,000 searches a month. Low competition and 27 cents for for somebody to click on an ad. I mean, okay. So if I'm Hallmark right there, I'm trying to figure out how can I use this, because I'm just scrolling down here. I'm seeing hundreds on thousands of searches with low competition and all with really low CPC scores. So the suggested bids are very low. Like, I need to do something with this if I'm Hallmark. So maybe I write 3 reasons I hate Valentine's Day and 3 ways I'm going to fix it this year. So that way I'm tapping into this I hate Valentine's Day search, but like also offering kind of like a solution, like a positive spin, like moving them towards maybe enjoying Valentine's Day more, and how they can make Valentine's Day more special or more meaningful, holiday for them and their significant other. So that's just like a really great example of how like nobody's bidding on these people because nobody's searching Valentine's Day, and Google's not pulling up I hate Valentine's Day. That's just not what Google does. But because I went to Reddit, I'm able to start seeing, well, there are a lot of people who say they hate Valentine's Day. And there are people that like nobody, look at this. I mean, it's just low, 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 low. Nobody's talking to them. Nobody. And so as if I was Hallmark, like this is a gold mine, a potential opportunity if I can figure out a way to write good content or like make a good ad campaign or put out amazing videos that maybe are able to change the way people perceive the holiday. So that's just an example of how I do that part of keyword research. So anyway, we've taken enough time on that. I want to move from keyword research into where you should, so you found your keywords, right? You know who your customers are, you know what your keywords are now, and you're going to run some campaigns. And so your ads are largely going to be, what are your keywords? And you're just going to turn those keywords into, good ad copy. So on Facebook, you'll write, like I said, 3 reasons I hate Valentine's Day and 3 ways I'm going to fix that this year. And that's your ad, or that's your piece of content. And so now, where do you want to land these people? Well, there's 3 different places that you can kind of land them in general. The one that people stumble on the most is probably your homepage. You probably have more people going to your homepage than almost any other site page on your website. So like I said, these are people who are pulled in by solution-oriented copy on your site, and they're kind of just in there stumbling. They just somehow managed to find you, kind of not searching for you specifically, but they just came across you. And, maybe you had really good copy that was matching their search, results. And so they click on you. And I do want to say really clearly, don't ever spend money for people to go to your homepage. I always joke, it's like you might as well just burn your money. It's pretty much the same thing, because if you pay money and send them to your homepage, you're really missing out, because that's not where you want paid traffic to land, because it's not a very targeted page most of the time. So what do you do on a homepage? So somebody gets to the homepage, what do you want them to do so that they engage meaningfully with your brand? So the first thing I always tell people is you've got to force people to make a decision or leave the page. And I think a lot of people are afraid of that second part, that idea of making people leave the page. Look, it's okay for people to not want to buy from you. Like, you want to be comfortable getting rid of those people early and often, because unengaged leads are just a waste of your time, and they just kind of drag down your overall site metrics, and it's just not good. You don't want unengaged people engaging with your brand. Like, you don't want to make it easy for people to stick around. So force them to make a decision, and by forcing them to do that, you can segment them into remarketing groups. And remarketing is kind of a buzzword that you're going to hear a lot. I'm going to talk a lot more about remarketing in the second part of this workshop. And so I apologize if that's going to sound, if you're not going to be quite sure what that means, but we're going to talk about that later. And so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. But by forcing them to make a decision, you can segment them into a remarketing group. So let me give you an example of a website that I just worked with that just did a beautiful job and a really simple job of doing this. So the Fayetteville OPO is an event venue right here in like it says, located in the heart of downtown Fayetteville. You can host your weddings there. You can host graduation parties, sorority parties, whatever you want to do. It's actually a fantastic little venue that a lot of people are starting to find out about. And so what we want to do is, all the options here were for schedule a tour. So we have two schedule a tour buttons, one at the bottom and one at the top. Well, so if somebody comes and they don't schedule a tour and they're leaving, and there's really no information, there's no interest expressed by the visitor here. So what I encouraged the owner of the Fayetteville OPO to do is I told her to do this. So this is her homepage now. Look, there's nothing to do. There's nowhere you can go. There's nothing you can click on except for these three buttons. And so you can tell them, what type of event are you planning? Wedding, party, or other? And so if I click on wedding, this seems really simple, and it is simple, but now they're taking me to what used to be their homepage. Now they're telling me to schedule a tour, but what they've done is they forced me to express interest in the specific type of event I want. And by doing that, I'm able to start setting up a remarketing campaign. So that way, if they don't schedule the tour, I can actually start trying to bring them back to my site with maybe an offer. Maybe I can be like $100 off if you book today, or something like that. And so this is just a really simple way. Make people express interest in something on your site. And don't be afraid to kind of push them into a corner where it's this idea of click or do something or go. And I think that's a really good mentality for people to start embracing on their website. So that's one of that's probably the place a lot of people are going to land. The second place is landing pages. So who's going here? Most of the time, landing pages are highly targeted places for paid traffic. So this is when you're launching those Google ads. You don't want to send them to your homepage. I talked about that's just burning money, because if you send them to the homepage and they have to select whether they're a wedding or a party or whatever, you should have done that with your ad. Your ad should already say, hey, looking for a wedding, book at the Fayetteville OPO, and it should land them on the weddings page rather than the homepage. And so this is where your paid traffic is going. It's going to very targeted, very specific copy for a specific need. And this can be people who are unaware or people who are aware of a problem. And I would encourage you to think about having different landing pages based on that. Because if people are aware of a problem, you don't need to convince them of that. You can start convincing them more about the solution and why it's important to them. If people are unaware of a problem, you also have to set the stage for the problem and why it causes them grief, as opposed to just like presenting them with a solution. People here are really enticed by a quick fix result that they were looking for. So maybe somebody said, I want to grow my sales this year. They want a solution, and so if I'm Explainify, the explainer video, I want to land them on something that promises double your revenue with this one simple trick. I mean, that might be a promise we can't actually deliver, but that's the kind of ideology that you want on your landing page. And so what should you do with these pages? One, you want to remove your navigation points, And you don't want them to land on your landing page and then have the ability to leave or easily. And the reason for this is people online, it's not like, look, people aren't dumb. I mean, they're not stupid. They don't get online and like lose all their brain cells. But people online are very simple and very curious and very inquisitive. And they do things that are really easy for them without even thinking about it. And so what you don't want to do is land them on a landing page and have them have the ability to maybe click like to your About Us or your, like other products or something like that. No, you already paid for them to be on this specific page. Don't let them leave. Force them into, so that the path of least resistance is whatever you wanted them to do. And so I also talk about only have one call to action on the site. Only have one thing they can do, and don't back off of that. Like, again, it comes back to this idea, do this thing or leave. We want to know that you're interested, or else please go away. And that's really kind of how you successfully set up a landing page. So an example of this here is this is what I did for the travel agency. This is Blue Sun Vacations. They used to be landing people on their homepage, and we moved them over to this landing page. Look, like their logo, we don't even let them click back to the homepage here. All right, so there's one thing they can do. They can click this call button. They can click this call button. They can click this call button, or they can click this call button. If they don't like that option, that's fine. They can leave. What we want them to do is we want them to call our, the beach masters is what they call them. We want them to call them the beach masters of Blue Sun Vacations, and that's it. If they don't want to do that, we're fine. Let's cut ties and let's kind of, clear our hands a little bit of each other. So that's what a good landing page kind of looks like. And then the last place that you want to land your traffic is on content marketing. All right. So who's going to these places? You've heard a lot about content marketing, I'm sure. So who's going here? People that are becoming aware of a problem and people who ask questions in search engines are the people who need content marketing. And so, maybe there's like a piece of content for Blue Sun, like, can I afford a vacation this year? People are wondering, is this affordable? Like, can I actually even do this? And that might be a search term that, Blue Sun could then go write a piece of content about. So here's the catch. Like, a landing page is like a proposition. It's like asking somebody to marry you, right? It's like, call us and do business with us. But sometimes you find groups of people who they're not ready for that. Like, they're not aware of the problem, or they're not sure of how to solve it. And this is why content marketing is so valuable, because instead of, say being at a bar and walking up and seeing some, beautiful girl or handsome man across the room, instead of walking up to them and being like, hey, can we get married? You'd probably be freaked out if somebody did that to you, right? And so instead, what we want to do is we want to walk across the room and be like, hey, what are you drinking? Like, what's your name? Can I buy you a drink? Can we talk? Can I just, tell me about yourself? And that's what content marketing is. It's establishing that conversation and that dialogue so that hopefully one day you can get down on one knee and, say, like, will you do business with me? And so that's where content marketing comes in. So what do you do with a good piece of content marketing? Well, first of all, it's all about getting users to engage with the content. So you got to write something that's good, right? Don't waste your time writing crappy content. You want to write something that people are going to resonate deeply with. You want to address their problems in a way that they're going to be like, craving to read that next paragraph more and more. And that's partly also design. So don't also make a blog that looks terrible. Think about how it looks and how it reads and how it feels, because you want people to stay on there. And then what you want to do is offer what we call in kind of the digital marketing world lead magnets. And these are natural kind of follow-up offers that people will be interested in based on the content they're already reading. So that's going to be the thing that takes it from, hey, what are you drinking, whatever, to, hey, you want to go on a date, or, you want to, go back to, somebody's place or something like that. And You don't want to try to oversell them. If people come to a landing page or a content marketing page and they feel like that's all you're doing is hitting them with these lead magnets, they're going to be repulsed. They're going to feel salesy, like being sold to instead of being communicated to, and they're probably going to leave. So you don't want to hit them too early or too hard, but you do want to make sure that you have something there for the people who really are engaging with you. And then, of course, as with both the landing pages and with content marketing and your homepage, you always want to be setting up remarketing audiences for these people. So what does a good piece of content marketing look like? Well, let's go to Explainify, and we wrote this definitive guide to video marketing like a champion, right? So in the title, you can already tell we're not even talking about explainer videos. All we're talking about is video marketing. We just want to talk about what does it look like to have good video, how do you put it into your funnel, and all that. And so we're sitting here and we're talking to them. We're just providing content. We've got a video, some bullet points. We've formatted this. We've got some nice imagery. And then all of a sudden, boom, we're down here and we're talking about video is not just your marketing main course. It's a powerful piece of a larger whole. And talking about establishing a strong foundation, about the importance of video marketing. Let's talk the numbers. And then boom, we hit them with a case study that Explainify has, where we helped the landing page increase conversions by 23%. Now, if you've read this much of the blog post already, you're probably at least intrigued by the idea of 23% more in conversions with a video. And so you might click on that, and then all of a sudden, we have you on one of our landing pages. At least it should be going. My computer is slow. But what's going to happen here is they click on this and they go to a landing page similar to what we showed you with Blue Sun. And there it goes. So yeah, now we've got them. They're here. They want to read the case study, and now we're asking them for some information to give us before that they go to the case study. So that's how all that kind of works. And so the three real metrics that I want to talk about really quickly that you should be looking at for your company is, one, you should be looking at your overall sessions. So in Google Analytics, you'll be able to see both your sessions and your unique visitors coming to your page. And the reason you're looking at this is just because it shows that your marketing efforts are working. If you're running paid ads and you're running content marketing and you're updating your site copy to be reflective of the keywords that you're finding, if you do all those things and you're not getting more people to your website, like something's really wrong, and that's just a really quick indicator that we're not finding engaged people. These people are not really at the top of our funnel. We thought they were, but we need to find new audiences. The other thing that you need to be looking at is bounce rate. And bounce rate is essentially, so say somebody clicks into a website, they scroll around, they don't do anything else, and then they click the back button. That would be what's considered a bounce by Google Analytics. And the reason that you want to look at this one is for two different reasons. One, say you do start seeing an increase in sessions, an increase in the number of people on your site. Well, if that coincides with an increase in bounce rate, that means that you have people who are coming to your site, but they're not engaged. And if they're not engaged, that means that they're not good target fits for your company, and you need to find new people. The other thing that you want to be careful of here too is that people talk about search engine optimization a lot, and for good SEO, there's a lot to be said for good keywords. There's a lot to be said for title tags, and a lot of other things. But at the end of the day, Google looks really strongly at behavior signals. So the way people behave on your website tells Google how relevant you are as a company. And so if people are bouncing from your page a lot, that starts telling Google that you're not very interesting, that you're not actually delivering on what you said you were going to deliver on, and you start getting penalized for that. So this is a metric that you really want to figure out how to make as low as possible. So if your homepage is in the 35 to 50% bounce rate range, that's fine. That's actually not abnormal. But if 70 to 80% of people are bouncing from your homepage, there's something wrong with you and your website or your product or your messaging, and it's not with the people coming to your website. And the third thing I want to talk about is you should start seeing remarketing list growth. So this is like the lifeblood of your company. When people come to your website, a good salesman doesn't accept no as the final answer all the time. There's different reasons people say no. Somebody could have came to your website and they might have wanted to buy your product, but for all you know, they had a baby throwing up in the other room and like a kid crying in the living room, and they have to go deal with this. And by the time they get back, they just don't even remember what they were doing, and they're gone. And that's not any fault of theirs. It's not any fault of yours. But by remarketing to them, and we'll talk about this more again in the next session, you can actually start helping that person remember why they were engaged with you in the first place. And so as you see these remarketing lists start to grow, that means that you have opportunity to better convert the people who've already kind of raised their hand and said, I'm engaged with you, I'm interested in you, please tell me more. And you're facilitating a better conversation by increasing the number of times that you interact with them. And that's really where companies start to win. When they better engage repeatedly with people who kind of express that interest, that's when they start really seeing a lot of success in their company. So that is all for now. I really appreciate you guys watching all this if you made it to the end. I sent you a couple of resources in the email. I hope you check them out. I'm looking at March 15th for the second part of this workshop where we're going to go talk about, we just talked a lot about site engagement, right? We didn't talk about the actual conversions. We didn't talk about remarketing and all that. So the next one is going to be talking about how you take engaged visitors and start moving them towards that conversion point. And so I'm really excited about that. I hope that'll come together really well, and I hope to see you there. In the meantime, always feel free to email me. I love getting lunch and trying to talk through business with other people and seeing how I could potentially help them. So still feel free to email me back, and I hope to see you around. Yeah, thanks guys. Have a great day.